Okay, we are live. And in today's conversation, we're going to look at the lessons learned from the pandemic, and we will discuss what has been working for different businesses across different industries and geographies. And look at examples of how organizations have successfully pivoted forward during these difficult times. And to explore this topic, I am joined today by Steve Miranda, who is the Executive Vice President for Oracle Cloud Applications. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Bernard. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, as am I. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's so nice to have you with me. I guess before we get into the discussion, maybe we could, or you could share with us a bit more about your background and what you do at Oracle.
Sure. So I've been with Oracle. This is my 29th year. I've been on the technology side of the business, so the development side that builds our products, specifically our application products. So we build a full suite of application products from ERP, supply chain, manufacturing, EPM, to HCM. Again, a complete suite of HCM, benefits, payroll, core HR and talent. And then for CX, sales, service, marketing for our customer experience areas. We do that with a full SaaS platform, and usually to the largest companies in the world, but down to some more smaller, mid-sized companies as well.
Very good. You're joining us from San Francisco today, right?
Yeah, Bay Area. Yeah, so
Very good.
morning
So
for me.
it's nice and early for you.
It's a good start for the day, so it's good.
Yeah. I guess the past 18 months have been a complete roller coaster with lockdowns worldwide and consumers navigating life in quarantine and businesses having to adapt to all of this. I think it seems like we've seen it all recently. So how has Oracle been pivoting during this disruption?
Well, I think the first major pivot is just with our employees and our work. So we went to work from home pretty early, or relatively early, at least for the U.S. Last March, I believe, maybe as early as February, and have stayed work from home the entire time globally. So or nearly globally. There's some countries where back to work was allowed for some time, and but for the vast majority, really work from home globally. So that has been a major pivot by the company, and really trying to focus on the health and safety of our employees first and foremost. And that's, as you said, it's been a roller coaster. We were had some issues in the United States and in Europe, and better in other parts of the world. And then now of late, obviously with tremendous concern with our employees in India and also Latin America, while the rest of the world seems to be on some recovery. So one major pivot in just terms of work style. The second thing was the customer pace actually didn't change that much, and in fact, if anything, the customer pace sped up in terms of the go live with deploying cloud solutions. And we've, since the pandemic started over the last 18 months, we were averaging well over one go live every day. Now, obviously, that goes in big clumps. A big clump right about now, middle of the year. A big clump on the New Year's type of time frame. But really, what we've seen is, with all of us working from home, our involvement as well in those customers, because of platforms like this, where you can talk real time wherever in the world you are. The development organization of people building the products have gotten a lot more involved than we ever were before in terms of implementations, go live, post go live to get features implemented, and it's been great. I mean, it's been an unfortunate circumstance, but I think in our relationship with our customers, we've been able to help them succeed with go live. We've been able to learn what they need and improve the product better and faster. And so, different way of working and how we pivoted, but it really kind of accelerated our move to a service organization from a product organization.
Yeah, and this is the picture I've seen across most of my other tech customers, that actually workload has stayed the same, if not has gone busier,
Yeah.
because obviously as an organization itself, you need to get ready for this and push your own digital transformation, enabling people to work from anywhere, and so did your customers,
Yeah.
and absolutely. So before we went live, we were chatting about San Francisco and Bay Area, and you've been there now all your life, so, or at least 30 years. The and how the city has become more popular, and then the Bay Area, and then the city, and so on. So it, what do you predict is going to happen for Oracle itself in terms of working from home? So we are now working from home. We've got this new hybrid world. Do you see the majority of this to come back, or do you believe this is going to stay? And what's your prediction?
Well, I've been trying to stay away from specific predictions because I think anything I would have predicted the last 18 months certainly would have been wrong if it's lasted longer, and certainly had more effect and different effects. But I think we've proven that we can work from home at least for a period of time. However, I also think it's put stress on certain areas. So, certainly bringing a new hire on board where you've never met the person or the person hasn't met their team, it's been effective, but I think it's been more difficult. Certain collaboration sessions across teams, it is possible, but in some ways it's been more difficult. And so where I think we'll end up is a blend of, you have the opportunity to work from home where when you choose, but certain activities, onboarding activities or collaboration activities, it'll be nice when we have the opportunity to get back into the office and do that. So we're still trying to work out exactly how that works to get the flexibility and the productivity that we're seeing with the work from home. But yet now that we have, or hopefully soon when we have the opportunity to get back in the office, take advantage of that. And I think very similar, we're starting to hear that with customers as well. Again, not necessarily globally, but in the United States, where some customers are completely comfortable or prefer, and we can still have access remotely. But increasingly, customers are asking for, hey, can we have an in-person session to dialogue or to brainstorm on something? So I don't know, and I'm probably not the best to predict how it will shape out in terms of percentages, but we're going to be an extremely flexible workforce, and we're going to be available to our customers in person. And I think you're going to see kind of a mix of what we had before and what we had during the last 18 months.
Very good. I'm just looking through this stream. We've got people joining us from all over the world. I just want to say hello to a few people. There's Mohammed from Egypt. Hi, thank you for joining us. We've got Jawad from Karachi in Pakistan. We've got Eric from Buffalo, and we have Clement from Ghana joining us. We've got Ignacio from Miami. We've got Shelly from South Africa. We've got people from India, from Nigeria, from Texas. So it's really great to have people from all over the world. As always, tell us where you're from, say hello, engage with us. This makes it much more fun. And also, if you have any, we've just had someone from Hong Kong and from Ottawa in Canada. That's nice.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And as always, let us know if you have any specific questions for Steve. This is your opportunity to, and I will try to channel as many of your questions to Steve as we can. You talked about customers, and obviously that this has been a priority focus for Oracle to support your customers. And I know you have many of them across so many different industries. Can you share some of the challenges your customers have gone through and how they've been navigating the disruption?
Sure. I mean, I would say, before the disruption, what we talked to our customers about was our big push and our big reason for having SaaS applications is to be able to adapt quickly to technology change and business change and business disruption. And we've seen that really in many, many flavors. I mean, some of our largest customers that went live over the last 18 months have been in the healthcare area. So, large hospitals in North America and globally. And what they were pressed with was either the need for efficiencies in their supply chain. And, to be frank, a lot of those projects were underway before the pandemic. Cleveland Clinic, which is one of the largest hospitals in the United States, was working with us on their ERP for supply chain optimization. Again, that got under a tremendous amount of stress, but that only accelerated their need for why they needed that optimization. You had other hospital agencies that were concerned about their employee population with the HCM solution and bringing talent management and recruiting. Again, pandemic kind of shined a light on that. A lot of stress there, and we had several large customer go lives there. You had still other industries that were also accelerated. So groceries. We've had a great partnership with Kroger, a large grocery in the United States. We've continued to build our partnership with the UK groceries. So Tesco and the Cooperative and Sainsbury's, close to where you are. So you probably get your groceries that run the combination of either our HCM cloud or our ERP cloud. And again, what we saw during the pandemic is actually for groceries, again, mission critical requirement, not having the ability like an Oracle or tech company to work from home. So really had to focus on health and safety, as well as supply chain and preventing supply chain disruption for all of us. But then you had other areas, hospitality, which took a bit of a slowdown in some areas. So we had customers like Hilton and like Marriott and like Caesars Resorts and MGM who used the opportunity where maybe things were a little bit slower in their business to make sure to let's say shore up their infrastructure and to move and to get live on these new cloud applications and transform themselves from an operating perspective while maybe the business was slowed down. And now what we're seeing is they're in a great position as things start to come back in different parts of the world. They've done that infrastructure work and they have that cloud application to be able to pivot. So many examples across many industries. Some a lot of stress where actually the last 18 months, let's say, changed but accelerated their business. Some where the last 18 months had a slowdown of their business, and they had to use the time on how to adapt for what we all hope is a comeback to normalcy, particularly in hospitality and some other areas like that. So hopefully that gives you a flavor for what we've seen and on this go live that we've seen.
No, great. And yeah, this is exactly the picture I'm seeing. Healthcare has been super busy, and they just needed to make sure that their systems were coping with the new demand they were seeing. Hospitality, exactly as you say, has slowed down significantly. I guess one of the most affected industries overall. And I guess when it comes to retail, in particular grocery, they've seeing huge disruption, obviously making sure their own employees are safe. But then they also had supply issues, I guess. What started with the initial supply chain disruptions in the beginning of the pandemic, where I remember walking into my local supermarket, and it's quite disturbing when all the shelves are empty and people worry about, is there going to be enough food in the future, to this ongoing story around supply chain transformation, I guess. And we're still seeing this unfolding with, I guess, ships getting stuck in the Suez Canal recently. We're seeing this with the global chip shortage, port congestion, creating further delays in delivery. So do you have any customers impacted by the overall supply chain situation? And have you got examples of how they're dealing with this?
Yeah, so again, I think there have been some. The notable ones are kind of mission critical to the pandemic. So Unilever is a big customer of ours. Again, moved to cloud, and they were in part of getting the PPE and the medical necessities to the different parts of the world as required. Actually, the National Institute of Health in the UK, or NHS in the UK, deployed an inventory management system very quickly, again, for PPE and inventory. But what we're seeing broadly, you mentioned Suez Canal, you mentioned the chip shortage, is I think what the pandemic has highlighted and the Suez Canal has highlighted is a growing trend that no longer is it necessarily the most efficient for you to manufacture in one part of the world and rely on that shipping to every other part of the world. Or rely on that exclusively, because what we've seen is you get a disruption, whether it's COVID or whether it's a ship or whether it's something else, and all of a sudden you see these supply chain breakdowns. So instead, what our customers are doing are using our supply chain planning, our transportation planning, our global trade management cloud solutions, and they're trying to figure out, well, what's the most effective spot for us to diversify our manufacturing and or supply chain, whether that means building in different locations to give you more flexibility on the supply chain, whether that means having the source of your supply chain, having multiple sources or multiple supply chain partners that could affect that, but really trying to balance out this optimization of the one place, build one, ship many, into a much more balanced approach to be able to combine efficiencies with some redundancy, or with some safety on the supply chain. So that's a growing trend that we see across all the industries, and what our customers are doing. I will say the other part of that trend is, as you look to move to manufacturing in different parts of the world, more and more robotics are being used in the manufacturing process. And so what we've done is we're adding capability in the manufacturing products we have in our cloud to not only be the traditional manufacturing areas, but to interface with those robotic technologies, so that you can have a modern system running your modern supply chain and manufacturing area. And again, gives our customers a lot more flexibility in terms of where they go and how they react to these problems.
Very good. So I guess, as the executive vice president for Oracle Cloud Applications, have you seen a change in how your customers have adopted cloud software, as all of these businesses are now navigating this new landscape?
But yeah, I mean, I think, one of the areas is they've obviously all been working, or many have been working from home, or at least their IT organizations or their back office has been working from home predominantly. That's when, again, one obvious change. A big focus on the health and safety of employees, and the talent management, recruiting employees, because along with the chip shortage and the other shortages you talked about, skills shortage has also been a big area of focus. So that's been another area where the teams have, our customers have really focused. And then I guess the last thing is, and this is probably more of the consumer apps around the enterprise apps, but the focus on having much more artificial intelligence built in, and expecting your enterprise systems to work like your phone. So the example I like to use is, you and I can pick up our phone, and with our voice, find out pretty much most of the information we want to find out anywhere in the world. We can get, anything from weather forecasts to the time of the football this afternoon, or the score of the game later on. You can just use your voice and, hey Siri, or hey Alexa, or hey Google, whatever it may be. And taking that AI and machine learning and put into your enterprise app, and making it as easy to find out, what's your forecast, what were day sales yesterday, how's revenue doing, what is your supply chain like, again, with your phone and your voice, is the growing trend. And again, we supply that with our cloud applications.
So that's interesting. And how important do you think cloud technology is for organizations to successfully perform well as an organization? Now we're hopefully coming out of this pandemic, or whatever we are experiencing beyond what we've seen in the last 18 months.
Well, you asked me to predict, the work from home and coming out of it, and I can't. But what I can pretty safely predict is that, while we all hope the pandemic won't be with us too much longer, there'll be some other form of disruption. And we saw this beforehand. You saw industries that were being disrupted with brand new business models, or brand new global competitors, or M&A or regulation changes in landscape. At least part of that was driven by technology, but the AI and machine learning technology, or the mobile technology enabling it. So our view is that the reason why these cloud applications and cloud technology is critical is, it's going to be impossible, or nearly impossible, to predict what the changes will be 18 months from now. But there will be change, and those changes will come out faster than you expect. And the businesses that will survive and thrive will be the ones that are able to react most quickly, and change their business to what their consumers, their customers are demanding, or what the new business model allows. And that is the fundamental reason why we believe the cloud technology and cloud applications are the key.
Very good. If you look across some of your customers, then you have seen, I guess, customers thriving in this new world, others maybe struggling and trying to catch up. What would you if you look across those that are doing really well, what have they done differently? What do you see as maybe some of the golden threads, some of the key things that they've done well as organizations, and maybe what are some of the mistakes you need to avoid?
Well, the we talked about industries, and some industries have a lot more difficult circumstances in terms of where things are slowing down, others are speeding up. But in context to every industry, what my view of it, dealing with a lot of customers and a lot of implementations, is the ones that change faster have a significant advantage. And I don't necessarily just mean technology, but the ones that are able to, have a culture of change, and the employees are used to change management and used to adapting to new processes, um, to react to business change or technology improvement, and to improve the way they're servicing their customers. And that speed of change, or that kind of organizational cultural acceptance, as opposed to, there are some customers who aren't there yet culturally, and whose first reaction, just people wise, not technology, is to kind of pull back, and to take a lot of time to analyze things, and kind of question things, and before we're moving forward. And what we've seen over and over again is, speed is actually your friend, and that it's oftentimes less risky to go fast, even though it may feel a little bit dangerous, but it's less risky to go fast than it is to, go slow and stay in one place. Because, depending on the industry and the technology change that's happening, that's where your competitors start to pass you by. And, you've heard all the stories about industries being disrupted and change being disruption. And what we see over and over is that speed, even in small places or in large places, is really what, in our mind, and my mind, see over and over again, distinguishes the companies that thrive versus the companies that start to struggle.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. I think if you got organizational culture is right, if they are constantly aware of the need to change, and they're able to do this and willing to do this will make them much more successful. So agility, I think, is an absolute key. Having the right organizational culture and having the right skills in place. So for me, obviously you talked about cloud. This is increasing flexibility and agility in most organizations, because it gives you technology that you can change very quickly. You can bring new technologies in much easier if you are interested in AI and blockchain and other technologies. So it gives you this flexibility, this agility. But if you look across technology, across skills, across culture, what do you think is where do most organizations stumble when they are not able to maybe pivot out of this pandemic, or during the pandemic as well as others?
Well, I mean, I think the change management is a big part of it, and I think what is sometimes difficult for companies, is particularly where they've been successful, and so oftentimes, because you're dealing with an organization that has been successful, and you have the need for change, or sometimes internally driven, sometimes externally driven. And not to be cliche or to steal an idea, but the crossing the chasm notion is we see it very real in cultures within companies, where it's often hardest to move when you're successful, because you have this you have this natural feedback that what you're doing is working, and the market's telling you, your customers are telling you that. And those are sometimes the areas that are hardest, and you have to push hardest to move. And what we're trying to do, and again, this is Oracle transforming from what we've traditionally been as a product company. We'd ship the software and our customers would implement it. But now, being a cloud company and a SaaS company, we're really a service organization. And when I talked about the developers being involved with the go lives, it's not just explaining how the software works or how the service works and how you connect, but it's oftentimes pushing our customers, with their partners, to do what we see as best practice, and sharing that across industry to industry. Because sometimes the retail best practice in areas like recruiting, because they do heavy recruiting on employees, is just way much more advanced than some other industries. And so our benefit of being able to be cross industry, cross sides of companies, cross global, to try to press those best practices to our customers. We think that's really valuable, and kind of that spot of not getting stuck and not relying on your past success um, for the unwillingness to move at times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. For me, one of the key words I'm using in my new book is actually that organizations have to be humble,
Yeah.
and I think that's really key, that they have leaders that are humble, organizations that are humble, that are able to constantly challenge themselves and see what is happening, how their customers' wants and needs are changing, how the industry and the technology landscape is changing, and if you are in that sort of mindset, you can then very quickly take a different direction, I think.
Yeah.
What's next for some organizations and industries then that are navigating a potential rebound as they hopefully the economy recovers? What does the future of business look like in your view?
Well, we think the machine learning, the AI, will just start to fundamentally transform that. Now that a lot of our customers have instilled their base platform across with our cloud solutions, they're going to see how their business transforms. If you just take something like our customer experience area in CX, we believe that today the way you engage with customers digitally allows you to be faster and service them better. And you probably see this as a consumer. When you have a brand that you are loyal to and you've purchased before, you expect them to give you recommendations. And when you go to their website online and deal with them digitally, you expect them to know what you bought before, understand what you liked and didn't like, and be able to surface that better. And so what we're trying to do is automate that entire flow now with machine learning, right from the advertisement part on through to the the sales and service part, to the fulfillment back to the back office. And we think that dealing with customers digitally now gives you a whole new opportunity to deal with that. And as consumers, you and I are, you probably see it in your own life, your expectations just get higher and higher from what you used to have. We were talking about our internet, and if it goes out, right, today that's a major issue. You just can't have things like that happen, and so your requirements are higher, and what you expect from your suppliers are higher, and we think that's going to change. In the back office, predicting more and reacting to change. Again, the pandemic has seen a magnifying glass, a highlight on the need for better cash forecasting, the need to be able to change fundamentally the way you do business. Again, digitally interacting with customers, and change the way you offer products and services. And maybe you had a product, but you need to offer it as a subscription mode, or have it where it's partially a rent or a share type of model. And you see this in industry after industry after industry. And your back office has to be able to adapt to that and be able to change and handle that very, very quickly. Because if not, you struggle too much not being able to give the services. And again, I hesitate to predict what's coming next, but I can assure you that change is only going to increase in velocity. And so the need to have that predictability and AI that will help you navigate those changes and change very dynamically is what's going to be key.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when I help companies with their AI strategies, I always say there are certain areas you need to look at. One is actually to help you understand consumers, the markets, the trends are coming up. You can use AI very well for this. Then you need to use AI to make your products more intelligent. And as you said, the expectations are going up. We want more personalized, we want more intelligent services that respond to our needs, that are more real time. And then as the back office, you need to automate more of your processes to make sure your entire back office is streamlined as a business. So how are some of your customers adopting technologies like AI once they are in the cloud?
Well, I think one of the most interesting areas is our digital assistant. So the digital assistant basically allows you to have a voice interaction to all of your transactions. And we're really seeing that in two flavors. One, in being able to get information out of the system. But also you have large organizations. I mentioned Hilton in the hospitality. So they rolled out the digital assistant right at the beginning or really during the pandemic. And so now they have a very mobile workforce that's generally not at a desk or doesn't have a desk. Most of their employees don't, but all have a mobile phone. And all now, to get HR information or do HR transactions, find out about vacation balance, benefits, can do that not only with their phone, but now with a digital assistant or a voice conversation. So I use the example of Siri and Alexa. So you don't have to train somebody on how to use Siri and Alexa. It's sort of part of the global lexicon, if you will, now. Well, now you have that same digital assistant for your everyday employees who are mobile, who are not at a desk, but who have those basic questions, and who, by the way, aren't going to go to training on how to interact with the HR system. It's just too large an organization, too dispersed organization. So that's been one example. You have other examples on the back end, again, using AI in a much more complex area. You talked about the supply chain in terms of supply chain optimization. So our supply chain planning product to use AI, and this is where you get into some of these difficult decisions, whether it's the Suez Canal issue, or there's a disruption because of COVID, or whether it's a change because different regulations on where you can ship goods or where employees are available because of COVID type of crisis. And you now need to do fairly rapid supply chain planning with backup and contingency plans. And again, using machine learning to better optimize those algorithms is key. So something, very, very complex like supply chain planning, something reasonably simple like, hey, what's my vacation balance? Two very different examples, but the same AI technology used across a suite, and growing more and more what we expect these systems to do.
And do you feel that this is something any company can now do? Can they start using AI, or do they need masses of data first? Do they need to have the machine learning skills in-house? Do you feel
No,
that this, yeah.
Yeah, no, we have companies. I mean, I gave you a few large examples, but we have companies large and small. So that are doing it without IT skills. Again, the beauty of it being in the cloud is we supply the infrastructure, we supply the software, we seed the skills, and the skills that I talked about are all kind of preceded skills. And those skills are tuned from our experience with the thousands of customers that we have. So no, you don't need to know which algorithm is happening behind the scenes for the AI that does the matching. And by your own use, whether it be country and language or industry, that AI just gets better and better on its own. It improves. So very low barrier to entry in terms of implementations from that standpoint, and really no AI skills per se necessary, because I don't think most people realize they're using AI when they talk to a digital assistant or a conversational, and that's the way it should be. And in our cloud, that's the aim, is that we provide the solution, and we'll take care of how it happens behind the scenes, but our customers really don't need to be aware.
Very good. If you look at the entire AI landscape, there's so many different types of AIs. There's natural language processing. You've
Yep.
talked about the Alexa and Siri
Yep.
chatbot capabilities. There's machine vision. There's automating robots. There's so many different things. What are some of the AI applications that you are really excited about? And have you got any examples?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've talked about the digital assistant being one. Probably the one I haven't talked about is IoT, the Internet of Things, which is essentially, being able to have sensors either on your supply chain or on the product you produce, having those sensors transmit telemetry, and then having AI behind the scenes do predictions. So whether it's prediction of failure, or where you have to adjust a part on something, or you have to respond to either something in your supply chain, or perhaps a product. And so we built a set of IoT applications in our supply chain geared specifically for that. And that, again, is powered by AI. Now, as you say, AI, sort of a simple phrase for a lot of different use cases. And that's one of the things that we feel as an application vendor at Oracle, we have a huge advantage in that we're also a technology provider. So, these variety of different AI technologies, we really inherit from our technology team. So we have the customers who are building their own apps, again, very large, sophisticated customers, and they put demands on our database and our technology and call those AI features. And so we aren't developing AI in a vacuum. We develop an AI set of technologies for our broad customer base at Oracle, and we just use them in applications: digital assistant, IoT, supply chain planning, reporting capabilities or audit capabilities in finance, just across the board, many examples.
Yeah, and you picked up AI as one of the technologies that you are particularly excited about, and
Mm.
I echo this very much. This is why I wrote my book, The Intelligence Revolution, because I believe AI is completely revolutionizing our world at the moment. And I guess AI is in the middle of this perfect storm that is enabled and is interacting with lots of other technologies, where we have cloud computing, edge computing, the Internet of Things, big data, we have 5G, we have blockchain, all of these different technologies that are enabling each other. If you look beyond AI, what other technologies are you particularly excited about, especially in the context of cloud, maybe?
Well, I think and again, it kind of mirrors AI, but we talked about voice, we talked about the different AI parts. The last thing is you mentioned big data, but really data and analytics, and having that predictability, because for too long, our systems, um, particularly ERP systems and back office systems, they store the mission critical data of the company. However, it's sometimes difficult to get the data out, and then difficult on how to navigate. So we think by having a robust AI system, a robust analytics system, and then really building out collaboration, it'll better enable management teams to make decisions and take actions. And you listed off the different countries and the different people who are joining us today. You've seen it in the pandemic. The way we collaborate and the way we work together is vastly different. So if you and I can now be on this same platform and talking real time from different parts of the world, with many others from different parts of the world, and then we had data presented to us in analytics, the way you manage and deal with your companies can be very different. You can make real-time decisions. You can have people together on different parts of the world. You could be operating on the same unified data set, having AI giving you recommendations on what to do with that data set, and make decisions to collaborate very, very quickly. So we think the combination of that big data, the AI, and then the missing piece that we haven't yet talked about is collaboration. And just an example of what you and I are doing here today, and the way most of the world's been working for the last 18 months, changed fundamentally.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Data for me is the fuel of this new intelligence revolution that we're experiencing. Do you feel, if you look across your customers, that they have enough data? Have they got too much data? Have they got the right data? Because this is a conversation I have with almost every customer that I have and every organization I work with, that most of them feel that they're drowning in data, but they are thirsting for insights. That they might not feel that they have the right data. And I think if we look at some of the statistics, that possibly less than 1% of the data that organizations currently hold is ever used to inform any kind of decision making. So
Yeah.
um, what's the picture you're seeing across your customers?
Well, it's seldom to never not enough data. It's usually the right data in context to make the decision. And so the analytic platform that we've built on top of our SaaS applications is not just focused on, well, reports and dashboards, because there's plenty of those, but it's how to embed those um, metrics or dashboards or key performance indicators into the transactions and when the decision makers need them. So it's not usually a case, or almost never the case, of not enough data, but it's data in context. That's part one. And then two, I talked about at the beginning that we build a full suite of applications. The other problem we see is the fragmentation of data. So even if you have it, you get disagreements and, well, which is the source of truth and which is correct, which is not correct. And so we think as you are able to model end-to-end business processes, you have that single source of truth, gives you accuracy of data, and then using the BI to present it in context is key.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I guess the other thing that once you've moved to the cloud, you can then access external data as well. This is something I feel many organizations don't make as much use of. That once you have your own data in the cloud, and hopefully you can have it in a unified platform, you can access it from anywhere, you can then very easily build data feeds from external data sources to complement your own data, which sometimes gives you the best insights. Is this something you're seeing too?
We are, and we're trying to add some of the most common data ourselves. So we did a recent acquisition of DataFox that has corporate data, which we've incorporated into our CRM, sales and marketing solutions, and are incorporating the procurement solutions. So you have that real-time data on potential customers or potential suppliers. With our data cloud, again, for different activity that's happening on consumers, you have with the data cloud, and you can blend that for your advertising area. And then, of course, you can supplement with any third-party data to add to the cloud, both in our analytics solutions and in the transaction solution. So we see that pretty commonly.
Very good. Looking into the future, then, if you look at, okay, what would you like to see? What are your hopes? What are your predictions for the future of business, the future of technology? What are some of the things that you feel as the world, as society, as business, we need to get right in the future? And where do you see some of the biggest opportunities with technology in enabling some of this?
Well, I think where we're uh, probably the most proud as an organization is the success of our customers have had moving to the cloud. And I've talked about some of the hospital examples during the pandemic, some supply chain, and our ability to contribute towards that has been very gratifying during this time. And what we'd like to see is, we continue to work with our customers. I mentioned before that speed of change. So, we think that most of our customers have the opportunity to get more efficient in the back office, and be able to deploy those resources through efficiencies to better service their customers, and to build better products. And so we're trying to get as efficient as possible, and then we want to help them target the right customers, and respond to that increasing customer demand. So this end-to-end suite, enabling a nimble organization, and one that's ready to transform is the key. And we've seen that again, whether it's Cleveland Clinic and hospitals, whether it's some of the largest financial institutions, whether it's large groceries like Kroger, or the hospitalities that I've talked about, Hilton and Marriott. We're extremely proud that those are all now very fast-moving organizations. And I'm going to go back. I'm not going to predict the next 18 months, but it's going to change fast. And we are extremely proud of our partnership with them to help them change fast.
Very good. Yeah, no, I very much agree. If there's one message, I think that the change of pace is only going to accelerate even further. We've seen this during the pandemic, that the change of pace has already accelerated in terms of adopting new technologies like cloud, like AI, and I'm with you. This will only get faster and hopefully more exciting. So thank you so much, Steve, for joining us today and sharing all your amazing insights and customer stories. Anyone who wants to re-listen to these conversations, you can head to my YouTube channel, where you can listen to this conversation and many other hundreds of conversations that I'm constantly having with super exciting people. And feel free to connect with Steve and I on platforms like LinkedIn if you're interested, and if you want to. And as always, let us know what you think about the session. So let us know in the comments about what you think about today's session, and also if there's anything else you want us to talk about in the future. Thank you very much, Steve, and thank you very much everyone for joining. As always, stay safe. Bye bye.
Thanks, Brian.